Good day to all of you. I'm Jesse from DBC, and today actually I will be sharing with you some details of some enhancements that actually you can look forward to with regards to the regulatory and building works. So what we will be doing today is that I will be proposing actually a new paradigm of regulations with you all, one that is of co-ownership. So the outline of my presentation is actually fairly straightforward. I will first start by revisiting the reasons why effective regulations are actually essential to a well-designed built environment. I will then move on to talk about emerging trends and disruptors, which actually catalyze the need for change in the regulatory and building works, as well as the need for a new paradigm of interaction between regulator as well as industry. Next, I'll touch on LTA's continual transformation to ensure that the regulatory processes are actually up to date. And then we'll go on to actually look at the key initiatives at a glance. And finally, I will show you a glimpse on our vision for a new regulatory paradigm and the targeted benefits that the industry, as you all, can actually look forward to. So maybe let's start first with the bigger picture. For LTA, we are currently charting out LTMP 2040. The LTMP meaning Land Transport Master Plan. In LTMP 2040, we chart out this long-term vision, the policies, as well as the targets that shape Singapore's land transport system by the year 2040. We envision a convenient, a well-connected, and a fast land transport system. And it's characterized by gracious behavior that is inclusive, and it catalyzes better health as well as safer journeys. So how developments actually play a part in the realization of LTMP 2040? Firstly, there is more cycling paths that can actually lead towards better health, as well as well-designed walking and cycling infrastructure for improved connectivity, graciousness, and safety. Last but not least, more covered link ways will be added for added convenience as well as connectivity. So we are always linking back towards the vision, towards the objectives of LTMP 2040. In the same vein, the regulation of developments also supports the vision of LTMP 2040 by ensuring that the built environments are inherently safe to use, and by ensuring that these elements actually maximize connectivity as well as convenience. This is reflected in the objectives of the three major regulatory aspects that LTA DBC evaluates for all development proposals. The first aspect is street works. We ensure that the streets, the commuter facilities, the cycling infrastructure that is being created, that is being proposed as part of the development, is safe for use. For the vehicle parking regulatory aspect, we ensure that car parking provisions are adequate and the design of the car parking facilities are safe. For rail and road structural protection, we will ensure that the development and the restricted activities arising do not pose any safety risk to rail or road structures, and they do not carry any disruption to these rail and road infrastructures. One thing I want to stress about the regulation of developments is that we want to maximize connectivity as well as convenience for all users. By meaning all users, we really want to create a truly inclusive transport system. The built infrastructure must take into consideration, on top of the general motorists, the various community groups, such as the elderly, the children, as well as people with disabilities. I would now like to bring you to an introduction of some of the current regulatory process of LTA. As many of you all would actually be familiar, LTA has a three-stage submission process for roads and parking, as well as rail and road structures protection. The first stage is development control stage, where the layout plans are being reviewed, followed by the building plan stage, where the engineering details are being presented, and then finally moving towards the certificate of statutory completion stage, where the completed works or the completed assets are being taken over by LTA. These gates actually allow LTA to gatekeep various aspects of the development at differing levels of details depending on the stage. To give a scale of things, LTA receives one application every 7 minutes. This adds up to around 24,000 submissions made to LTA in a year. Before I proceed further, perhaps let's pause for a while for a quick check. What do you envision the regulatory landscape as? Do you see it as the picture on the left? A complicated web of policy-driven rules, standards, as well as regulations exacting compliance? Or do you see it as the picture on the right? An agreed set of principles and guidelines for industry adoption. It's something that we can agree upon. Actually, the answer is somewhere in between both paradigms. As much as we require structure, that we require certain minimum level of compliance to be exacted, as well as certain minimum design standards, you'll find that there are many emerging challenges that actually require not only LTA to unilaterally come up with policies and regulations, but it requires dialogue, it requires cooperation and co-creation with you all as the industry. So now, this leads us really to the impetus of change. What has really changed over the years? Regulations is something that has existed for many decades before. As early as Singapore's independence, we have already put in place certain standards, certain design regulations for the industry to follow, and for these minimum standards to be adhered to before they can be taken over as public assets. But over the years, several trends and disruptors have actually emerged, and this has actually changed the pace as well as the tone of the built environment. So for instance, we have technological opportunities such as BIMs. These serve as an enabler for greater efficiency, for more information to be transmitted. On the other hand, we also have higher business costs. The diverse needs of the community now lead to higher expectations on the design of the built environment. And last but not least, in the year 2019, COVID actually changes the way we interact with each other. So the old paradigm of having tight regulation with the need for strict compliance and having excessive, detailed, heavy-duty building plan approval processes based on control is something that we want to move out. It's something that we cannot be sustaining in the years ahead. Trends and disruptors push us to rethink how we want to regulate, how the regulatory regime will be in the future. A fast-paced built environment calls for a rapid response. Each development now uniquely caters for a slightly different demographic. Emergence of virtual meeting platforms such as Skype, such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, pushed by social distancing measures, opens more convenient options for meeting and discussion. And BIM facilitates easier visualization of the end product of what is going to be built. So therefore, moving ahead, a new light touch, user-friendly building plan approval process based on enablement and entrustment will be the way moving forward. In short, we can achieve more if we jointly work together. So LTA's transformation objective moving forward is to implement a light-touch, customer-centric building plan approval regime that is aligned to LTMP 2040. How do we jointly achieve this objective? We do it by three major strategies: co-solutioning, process re-engineering, as well as leveraging on technology. On the first aspect, on co-solutioning, LTA plans and we increase the frequency of dialogues from an annual to a biannual or twice a year So this engagement actually focuses on the sharing of our regulations, as well as some of our policy changes. And these changes will be reflected to industry transparently. LTA2 launches educational materials, such as quick guides, such as printed material, such as video material. This is so as to increase understanding of our rules and regulations. Thirdly, LTA jointly with the industry associations have set up focus groups for co-solutioning on particular issues. On the second strategy regarding process engineering, we have categorized improvement initiatives into two subcategories. For simple projects, the lodgement scheme will be expanded to include more submission types. And for this lodgement scheme, the QP's accurate self-declaration is instrumental in ensuring that the lodge plans are inherently safe and well-designed. So, with lodgement, we can push forward express clearance for simple projects, and this can be happen with your cooperation. For complex project submissions, there will be a combination of various initiatives to compact the process, reduce submission touchpoints, as well as compress the processing timelines. I will share in the later slides some of these recently implemented initiatives. Last but not least, LTA is also looking at the development of digitalization and data management tools. These tools are instrumental to facilitate greater collaboration and efficiency, and be ready for a future regulatory environment where submission is predominantly going to be made in BIMs. The first initiative I'd like to talk about is regarding engagement initiative. And this is regarding our Quick Guide series. As some of you all may know, since April 2020, LTA has launched a new Quick Guide series. And this series focuses on street works, vehicle parking, and road structure protection proposals. The guides complement existing resource publications to facilitate a deeper understanding of specific issues. One point that I'd like to stress is that these guides themselves do not impose additional rules and regulations on top of what is existing. Any updates to LTA's rules and regulations will still be conveyed through the prevailing channels with corresponding updates to our resource publications, such as our Code of Practice, our design criteria, as well as standard design of road elements, etc. A second engagement initiative that LTA has pushed forth is technical seminars and engagement workshops. Technical seminars and engagement workshops actually provide opportunities for LTA and industry professionals and the associations to co-ideate solutions, to share important updates such as today's presentation, and instill greater appreciation of the rationale behind specific regulations. With due consideration on social distancing measures arising from COVID-19, LTA strives to conduct a series of topical seminars, workshops on a yearly basis, each targeting at specific issues where both the industry and ourselves are most concerned with. And over the next few presentations, you will hear from my colleagues in greater details some key design criteria, good practices to adopt, and common errors to avoid regarding the design of commuter facilities and active mobility infrastructure. This is the focus of our seminar today, towards a self-directed design of commuter facilities. The third engagement initiative that LTA will push forth is for focus group discussions with the industry. So focus group discussions really foster deep collaboration between LTA and the industry and facilitate a joint resolution on specific issues emerging from the built environment. So these groups facilitate the following. 1, identification of existing and future issues. 2, flexibility to generate innovative solutions to tackle these issues. 3, the proposal and formulation of design principles and guidelines. Last but not least, consideration of certain guidelines for industry-wide adoption. I would now like to move towards to highlight to you some improvements, process improvements, that LTA has made to our regulatory processes. To recap a bit, the intent of these enhancements are to 1, compact processes, 2, reduce submission touch points, and 3, compress the processing timeline. So the first initiative we have is regarding the reduction of touch points at DC stage for road and parking proposals. As I mentioned earlier, since October 2019, industry professionals are now able to make a combined street works and vehicle parking submission at the development control stage. And the benefits that the industry can get out of this is 1, a reduction of touch points that you don't have to submit to 2 different sections, a same proposal. And number 2, you will be able to obtain a more coordinated response from LTA. A second enhancement to our regulatory process is the process compaction for application for modification requests, which was carried out in mid-2019. This is applicable for development proposals affecting rapid transit system infrastructure and involving modification works to existing RTS structures. For such proposals, industry professionals historically have to go through a 3-stage submission process. That is first, a pre-AFM review. And then after that, you have to submit for an application for modification review. And then finally, a submission to SMRT parties for a 3rd review. This is all have to be done in succession before works can actually commence. But under the review improved process, industry professionals now have to submit once to DBC, where the different parties and stakeholders involved will carry out a coordinated review and respond in time. Industry professionals then benefit from a more compacted submission process with considerable time savings. So over the years, LTA has indeed progressively implemented initiatives aimed at streamlining processes as well as engagement initiatives. And in the years to come, we plan to complement the existing initiatives that we have made with more further process improvements to ensure that these processes are always simplified, that the touch points are consolidated, that processing time is minimized, and self-service is possible for simple projects. We envision that all submissions made to LTA will benefit eventually from the improved process. With this, I would like to end you with a vision that I hope to share with you over the next few years. In the years to come, you, the industry, can expect to benefit the following from LTA's enhanced regulatory process. Upfront in the beginning, when you are planning your development, you will have a better understanding of LTA's rules and regulations, and there will be ample opportunities provided for learning and feedback. When it's time for you to make a submission, I will say that the submission process will be seamless, and this is done through compacted submission processes with more lodgement options. When a submission has been made to LTA, do look forward to a fast and concise response, and that our responses will be clear and unambiguous. If there are any issues arising on site, be rest assured that there will be clear direction so that quick action can be taken to rectify the issues encountered. And when the works are completed, there will be quick arrangement for site inspections and a speedy handover of the completed assets to LTA. This accumulates really in an expedient approval by LTA. With this, I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope that you will be able to gain the most from the following presentations from my colleagues. Thank you.